Diddy facing 11 years for interstate charges right now. So says the prosecution that Diddy is facing 11 years for interstate charges. So says the prosecution. Some people were saying 2 years. Defense saying 14 months. Some people saying 5 years. Tisa tells them, say, he gonna get 20. I said he getting 20. That's what Tisa them said. I don't know. But what we do know is that we have the victim impact statements and we have the sentencing memorandum. So salute to everybody on the way in. I want everybody dropping a like on the way in. I will be doing a poll, so I want y'all slapping the poll on my great granny soul. Slap the poll, because the poll is saying, what do you think he's going to get? Is it time served? What do you think? If you missed the poll and you're not live when I'm live, all you got to do is get in my comments on this video after it's live and let us know what you think he's going to get. That don't mean we're the judge, the jury, or the executioner, man. We just got a thought. We've been hearing about this. We've been watching it. We've been seeing it. That's it. It's all in our world. It's all in reality. So that's all it is. So salute to everybody on the way in. God bless up all of yourselves. And I'm saying salute to everybody. Y'all know what to do. Make sure y'all dropping likes and everything. We getting into this read right now.
All my niggas from the OOTAONGO. All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn rap. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been as right. You been stuck in a computer.
All right, cool. This is where we at with it. This is where we at with it. I'm going to start this from scratchy datchies. All right, we're going to start this from scratch. Salute to everybody on the way in. Everybody drop a like. Hold on, let me just drop this pause with that too, because, you know, it just sounds pause. Hold on, let me just put the poll in real quick. All right, cool. What is this one? Hold up. Let's get to it. That's facts. Hold on, let me do this poll real quick. All right, cool. Is Diddy getting time served? That's it. That's it. So that means whatever he getting besides that. It could be more, it could be whatever. It could be 5, it could be 3, it could be whatever it is. But we know that he's been in there for like a year and change. So if he's going to get more than that, you just let us know what y'all thinking about the whole situation, all right? So let's get into this quick little breakdown. All right, where we at with it? All right, cool. You know, we here with it too. So salute to everybody. Let's try this again. Everybody slapping the likes from the way in. Everybody hitting the poll on your way in. You already know the vibes. All right, cool. I already got to page 3 on my last read. I should just start this from page 3 anyway. But this is Cassie talking about all of these things, all right? Which was a highlight point of the first beginning. I'm going to show you the truth, is that while the defense was arguing for the bail, they were saying that Cassie and Diddy's relationship was like this love affair type of deal. But in this, Cassie said this was far from some sort of love affair, wonderful thing. You know what I'm saying? She said it was horrible. She said it was horrible. It was horrific. You know what I'm saying? Look, this physical violence causes bruises. Makeup artist paid for by Sean would cover it up. You know what I mean? As well as permanent scars all over her body. And she went into really, really specifics in this. I read the first 2 pages on my last read. I really didn't feel the energy in there, so I started my stream again. So salute to that. All right. She said, during my time with Combs, I was in a constant state of hypervigilance, as I was always anticipating demands for SEX acts or otherwise fearing retribution for any perceived slight. My descent into substance abuse was directly correlated with the increased control over my body, my money, my freedom, and my free will. I used those D-rugs to push through the horrifying SES acts while he demanded and to numb myself to the physical pain and emotional turmoil I was constantly in, while the defense attorneys at the trial suggested at the time with Combs was akin to a great modern love story. This part right here I'm talking about, right here. This part right here, okay? Okay, so I just want y'all to take a look over on that. Okay, and I think that this is going to come to hurt Diddy in some shape, form, or fashion. Okay, give me 1 second. All right. All right. Where we at with it now? Okay. Damn dog over here bugging. Hold up. Boom. All right. So like I said though, I think that this part right here is kind of critical. You know what I mean? It's crucial to what the defense was trying to push. You know what I'm saying? He said nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing about this story is great, modern, or loving. This was a horrific decade of my life, stained by abuse, violence, forced sex, and degradation. Right? He says, I spent the last 7 years of my life slowly rebuilding myself, physically getting clean from the D-rug abuse that Sean Combs forced and encouraged, and mentally understanding how to live with a seemingly unsurmountable level of trauma. The horrors I endured drove me to have thoughts of unaliving herself. Ones I almost followed through on, if not for my family intervention and urging that I seek professional care. I have been to rehab and I have taken part in dozens of types of therapy modalities and to confront, compartmentalize, and cope with the horrific memories of sexual and emotional abuse I endured for nearly 10 years. Wow, what he did to me is always present. I'm slowly learning how to live my life free of fear and horrors I endured. And in doing so, am fully devoted to my husband and my children. I still have nightmares and flashbacks on the regular, everyday basis and continue to require psychological care to cope with my past. My worries that Sean Combs or his associates will come after me and my family is my reality. I have, in fact, moved my family out of New York, out of the New York area, and am keeping as private and quiet as possibly can because I am so scared that if he walks free, his first actions will be swift retribution towards me and others who spoke up about his abuse at trial. This is not nice. Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. Might not be nice, man. You got the poll in there, bro. What y'all think he getting? Time served? If not me, he getting anything more than 2, 3, whatever the case may be. But right now is looking is but this is Cassie. This is the main victim, bro. It's the main person. This is who the whole case was all about. This is what everything was all about. And this is what Cassie's saying now. All right. Yes, this looks like them people, the prosecution themselves, has taken her statements or maybe said, you know what, we're gonna draw up something that we feel based on da 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 da, and you look it over, you know what I'm saying, and tell me, you know what I mean? So maybe Cassie wrote this, who knows? Maybe her people wrote it, but she signed off on it regardless of the fact. So it basically speaks to how she feels. But how it's written is just so in a way that I think it may impact the sentencing, just the way this is written. So if you think that the way this is written alone will impact sentence, let me know in the comments. If you don't think it, then let me know in the comments. All right. She says, swift retribution, abuse at trial. Okay. As much progress as I have made in recovering from my abuse, I remain very much afraid of what he is capable of and the malice he undoubtedly harbors towards me for having the bravery to tell the truth. His defense attorneys claim that he's a changed man and he wants to mentor abusers. I know firsthand what real mentorship means, and this disgusts me. He is not being truthful. I know that who he was to me, the manipulator, the aggressor, the abuser, the trafficker. Wow. Cassie, did Cassie say? Cassie never said this in trial. The prosecution is foul. Y'all know y'all did this, bro. Stop, bro. Stop. Stop, bro. All right, this is Cassie's words, maybe how she feels, regardless of the fact she feels like this. So you can't say she doesn't, but she didn't speak like this at trial. She did not use certain words. She never called the male people toots and nothing like that, bro. You see what I'm saying? She even act like she had some love for Diddy. Maybe she got into some things with Alex after the thing to say, yo, you act like you still love him and all that. I don't know. Maybe this is her, but she never used this right here. The trafficker? That's crazy, bro. Yo, that's crazy, bro. I'm sorry, bro. The judge is reading this over like, yo, he gotta do something about this, bro. He gotta do something, bro. This is crazy. He says, is the trafficker is who he is as a human. Nasty work. He has no interest in changing or becoming better. He will always be the same cruel, power-hungry, manipulative man that he is. When I came out with my allegations in my civil case, he flatly denied them again and again. It was only after actual video footage corroborated the exact words in my civil complaint that he issued in insincere apology on the internet. Thanks to the footage and my testimony, this is also something that he will forever be associated with. For over a decade, Sean Combs made me feel powerless and unimportant, but my experience was real, horrific, and deserves to be considered. While the jury did not seem to understand or believe that I engaged in FOs because of force or coercion the defendant used against me, I know that is the truth, and his sentence should reflect the reality of the evidence of my lived experience as a victim, reliving in detail the events and truth described throughout the trial. And this letter causes me tremendous emotional pain. I am trying with all that I am to move on. I hope that your sentencing decision reflects the strength it took for victims of Sean to come forward. I hope that your decision considers the many lives that Sean Combs has upended with his abuse and control. I thank you for your time and attention. Cassie Ventura Fine. Wow. Wow. That alone was crazy. Diddy in his trial right now, like, yo.
Oh, no, you can't be serious. That is some bullshit right there.
Diddy is in his cell, like, that is some bull right there, bro. That's crazy. Because, listen, she did not speak with that type of vitriol like that. And that's what I thought was missing from the trial. Some of that grit. You know what I'm saying? People was there talking about him, but they was talking in a way like they still loved him in some way. And they was talking like they didn't want him to get the 10 to 20 and the 30 years in the life. That's how they was kind of speaking. You know what I'm saying? But we see now with Cassie's on, Cassie has swung for the fence. She's singing a whole nother tune. Not to say a whole nother tune because she's the first one to come out against him, but I'm just saying, the way she's speaking of this is saying, yo, man, put this man away. If she was speaking in that courtroom like this, or, you know what I mean? Bro, I'm telling you, Jane had more of that for him than Cassie did. And if she was speaking more like that, it'd have probably been different for Diddy. You never know. So maybe the jury looks into it. Maybe the jury believes some more. Who knows? But some of this right here that she has right here was missing. All right, cool. Let's see what else we have. That's crazy. Exhibit B. Nasty work. Nasty work. We're going through it again. Okay. We are writing to you as extremely concerned parents regarding the upcoming sentencing of the defendants referenced above. We have read many online reports that state that months are being suggested for his punishment sentence as opposed to the many years that we feel he deserved. 11. Put the number. 11 years is the length of time this horrific nightmare lasted. That's why they pushing for 11 years. Yo, I'm wondering why they pushing for the 11. Cassie was with him for 11 years. Makes sense why they're doing this. So they come in right. They come in strong. Prosecution coming strong, bro. They come in like psychological. Cassie was in this thing for. They're trying to make now. What they're trying to do is make the judge look at it like 11 years, bro, is what Cassie been through this. Maybe the jury didn't see this. Nobody else seen this, but you got to see that Cassie's been through this for 11 years. But she wasn't really through this for 11 years. She was really through this for like 9 years because she was first introduced to FOs at 22, even though she was with him from 19. So if they really want to get crazy, they supposed to be pushing for 9. Actually, because that's when the FO started. I was there. I watched the whole case. So let's stop it. They was in some relationship, loving and whatever, right? She left her man at the time, cheated on her man actually, and went and freaked Diddy off on a boat. Yes, she did, Cassie. You did. Okay, cool. So now you was with him for a couple of years. And when you were 22 years old, he introduced voyeurism to you. So we'll start that from 22 years old. So boom, right? Not from 19. But the grooming or whatever she feels probably started from that age, which prepped her or prepared her for her to be in that position, maybe. So maybe she feels that way, but she didn't speak in that manner during the trial. All right, 11 years is the length of time this horrific nightmare lasted. During that time, our daughter was beaten repeatedly and exposed to harmful and copious amounts of drugs. She was held like a prisoner, kidnapping, by the defendant. When her face told the story of a beating, she was coerced to perform sexual acts with strangers, toots, to be exact, for the defendant's own sexual gratification. None of the sexual acts were consensual, as there is no consent in a domestic violence relationship. I don't know if I go that deep, but this is the parents. Her mom's probably speaking. Some of that was consented to. Maybe some of it wasn't, because at times it was up. You know what I'm saying? She couldn't stop it. She had to do it during STD. She had sex on her menstruation period. While she was abused, she was putting makeup over abuses, going out, still doing FO, still performing. Yeah, so it was a lot. It was a lot. But at times she probably wanted to do it. But this is her mother. So parents are always going to speak the way parents are going to speak. So we're not going to take it away from her parent. You know what I'm saying? She said there's no consent in a domestic violence relationship. There was always a threat of violence. Everything she did with, for, and because of this defendant was self-preservation. She was, in actual fact, brutalized by the defendant's power and depravity. Our daughter is dealing with the psychological, emotional, as well as the trucks is going by. Hold up, bro. I don't feel like closing this. That truck go by. Cool. She says look, she says, our daughter is dealing with the psychological, emotional, and physical aftermath of the abuse that she endured at the hands of the defendant. She will be left to deal with the trauma of his abuse far beyond a 27-month sentence with time served, as suggested by the defense attorneys. We believe the charges that the defendant was convicted of are not only federal crimes, but they are also severe violation of human trafficking, of human self-worth and freedom. Severe violations of human self-worth and freedom. Clearly a vile abuse of power coupled with an immense disregard for human life. To sentence lightly in this case that involves such vicious abuses of our daughter's body, safety, and dignity is to dismiss her very existence. To sentence lightly would also send a dangerous message. That's what I'm saying is scary. Because this judge, this is what I've been telling you from this whole time, ever since this happened, that this judge has on his hands, that this case is unlike a lot of other cases. So how he rules on this case will basically set the precedence of how people in the future may get tried and charged with this case. So he also has that. So it's not just how he feels. It's not just that if he feels Diddy's did enough time, he also has to think about other people that might be charged with this crime in the future, because this charge hasn't been charged in this way and in any way like that in a while. That's why they're citing these old cases. You see what I'm saying? So this is just like it's like an extraordinary case. But she said it sends a dangerous message. A sentence that is handed down in months instead of years sends a message that such repulsive behavior can happen without meaningful consequence. In closing, we are her parents. Urge you to deliver a sentence that appropriately reflects the severity and depravity of the abuse, the breach of trust, and the suffering that our daughter experienced. The justice system must be a place where the voices of those who have endured actual and physical abuse are heard, believed, and honored with appropriate accountability. Thank you for your time and your consideration, Regina and Roderick Ventura. That's Cassie's mom and her pop. So that's nasty work. They penned that up. They penned that up already, right? Let me say. It's nasty work, man. And who's this one now? Let me see who it's gonna be. Damn, they said a lot. Damn, who's the Capricorn clock? Oh, this Mia. Oh boy. It's Mia, y'all. Nasty. Hold up. This is Mia right here, bro. Lord. Let me just check on my stream, see what's going on. Salute to everybody in the building. You already know. It's crazy, bro. What y'all think? Is Diddy getting time served? What we thinking? Y'all make sure I hit that poll. This is Mia, man. They got Mia statements, and Mia wrote a lot. Cassie's mom kept it short and sweet. He lucky. She'd even mention the things that she went through that, I mean, like the supposed extortion when he asked for the money. She didn't even mention that. Diddy's lucky for that, bro. Look, he need to clap your hands, bro. You need to clap his hands that she didn't mention that. He says, I am writing to you on behalf of my younger self. Wow, that's how she started it. It's crazy. The little girl who once dreamed without fear, who believed the world was full of possibilities, who had faith in goodness of people, and who trusted that her hard work, big heart, and integrity could carry her toward a bright and meaningful future. That little girl is gone. She was buried alive by an abuser, trapped in a world of terror, abuse, humiliation, and coercive control. This letter has been excruciating to write. These people wrote their own letters. It's crazy. They wrote their own letters, bro. Cassie wrote that letter, bro. It's crazy for him, son. Other than during my testimony, I've had to encourage. He said, I've had the courage to discuss my abuse publicly. It feels impossible to describe as I'm slowly just beginning to unravel the tangled web of trauma of myself. But I decided that it is better to try to describe the permanent damage that Sean Combs, my abuser, has caused me rather than to remain silent any longer. I began working for my abuser in my early 20s after I moved to NYC with only a mattress on my car and a dream in my heart. I was made to believe that it was the opportunity of a lifetime to work with him, work for him. I was young and naive. I wanted to make a name for myself. I wanted to change the world for the better through my creativity. My dream was to one day become a writer, producer, and performer. In these early years, I was hopeful and I was innocent. From the start, however, my abuser preyed on that innocence, and what I thought was a once in a lifetime opportunity gradually became a never ending nightmare. I experienced manipulation, humiliation, coercion, and violence. I was groomed, exploited, and broken down. He stripped me of my freedom, my safety, my identity, my instincts, and my autonomy. He alternated rewards and punishments to break down my self worth and instincts, creating dependency and confusion. He dangled my dreams before me like a carrot, promising opportunity, mentorship, and advancement. He controlled every part of my life. I needed his permission for everything: when I could sleep, when I could eat, when I could use the bathroom, when I could go to my room, and even whether I could buy tampons.
Oh no, you can't be serious. That is some bullshit right there.
He created a life where nothing was mine, and I lived in a constant fear because his moods would determine my right to exist. Asking for compensation for my labor, including overtime requests or reimbursement requests for work related expenses, would lead to him throwing a tantrum, yelling, and sometimes throwing objects in my directions in an effort to humiliate me. He framed my request as stealing and made me ashamed to accept any income at all. Through his financial manipulation, he kept me dependent and trapped. My work for the defendant was not a job. It was captivity. His coercive control and unpredictable violence left lasting psychological scars, anxiety, and hypervigilance, disassociation, self doubt, and an ongoing struggle to reclaim autonomy. Crazy. Years of abuse and rewired, he said, years of abuse have rewired my brain. Even today, I feel trapped in a mental and emotional pattern that he created. I live with chronic and severe PTSD, depression, and crippling anxiety. I suffer from deeply intrusive thoughts, derealization, panic attacks, night terrors, and insomnia. When I can get a few precious hours of sleep, hours are often filled with nights of terror that wake me up in a breathless sweat, screaming and crying. I awake with my heart pounding, gasping as if I am still trapped. I have struggled to feel safe in any workplace because of my PTSD, which has resulted in a fragmented professional record, a bankruptcy application, and crippling debt. I can't go to many of the public places that I once loved: concerts, festivals, clubs without risk of having a panic attack. I've struggled to set roots in any location and build a community of support for fear that my abuser would find me and ruin my life all over again. I avoid social media. I can't listen to music I once loved. I can't watch many TV shows or movies, all for fear that I might unexpectedly be triggered and have to relive some of the worst moments of my life. Now, all of this trauma was compounded by the impact of my testimony at my abuser's trial. The investigation and pretrial process threw me back into a world that I had spent years desperately trying to suppress. I had buried so many terrible memories of abuse, including violence and actual assault, that I was forced to dig up and relive. I cannot overstate the traumatizing impact of reading his threatening emails, reviewing old photos and videos, and hearing his voice again. Every meeting felt like a hammer striking at the fragile foundations of my healing. The anticipation of testifying was also horrendous. My therapy sessions were spent bracing for the unfathomable moment that I would face him in a courtroom, in your courtroom, better yet. Instead of focusing on rebuilding my life or forging a new future, when I tried to imagine walking into a crowded courtroom and facing him, I would black out. For months, I suffered from panic attacks. My tongue swelled, my stomach dropped, my hands went cold, my legs became numb. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. I the feeling of dread and terror was so intense that I couldn't hide it. I would randomly burst into uncontrollable childlike sobs. I found myself I found myself self-isolating for fear of being a burden on people that I love. I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to say I was not okay. I had been conditioned for so many years to believe that my needs were unimportant and that any emotion was forbidden. If I expressed any indication that I was suffering or unwell, I could be in imminent danger. I wanted to jump out of my skin. I felt relentlessly ashamed. There were times when I did not want to live. As a result of the defense's team's tactics during my testimony, and despite my use of a pseudonym, my identity has been publicized. My name is no longer my own. It is forever linked to my abuser's violence. My sweet, loving parents had to read horrible details about the abuse of their daughter, riddling them with anxiety and leading them to unfairly question themselves, as if they could have done anything to prevent this. Everyone I have known and everyone I will meet will know my darkest moments. Even the children in my life, my sweet niece and my nephew, my loving goddaughter and godson, my friends' children who inspired me to tell my truth, will one day read the vile details of my abuse. Although the verdict fell short of justice that I had hoped for, the defendant was still found guilty of serious crimes. What he stole from me cannot be returned. It cannot be reduced to years of money. He stole my freedom, my sense of safety, my ability to trust myself and others, and my confidence. He stole my dreams of having a stable, healthy family of my own, my career trajectory, and both my creative work product and creative aspirations. He stole 16 years of my life, the time that I should have spent developing into the independent woman that I was meant to be. My life has been profoundly broken. I'm pleading on behalf of my inner child, the sweet, hopeful, bright eyed girl who could not survive the defendant's abuse, and for the woman I should have become who was robbed of her future. I am pleading for the brave victims that came forward and the countless other victims who continue to suffer, who have been scared into silence. The defendants has shattered many lives, and they too deserve justice. They too deserve to live without the shame or fear the victims of actual, psychological, and violent crimes, especially against women, are often forced to prove themselves while reliving the trauma that destroyed them. We are questioned, doubted, humiliated, re-victimized, as if surviving and coming forward to tell the story of our survival makes us suspect. We are forced to serve a life sentence of living with the consequences of the defendant's abuse every day. Finally, I am pleading on behalf of a future generations who deserve a world where predators cannot escape accountability. This is crazy, bro. This is gonna clip Diddy. This is gonna, yo, son, Diddy might get the 11, bro. Nasty work. Diddy. Damn, son, yo, listen to me, yo. Yo, he's trying to clip Diddy wings with this one, bro. Listen to me. Yo, where I'm at. Where my screen at? I'll bring myself back on screen. Yo, listen. On Sandals of Jesus. Yo, bro. It's nasty, bro. It's nasty. I don't care what side of the fence you think you're on this case right now. Reading these victim impact statements. What's crazy is this, you know. Everybody went in there and spoke their speech. So I'm not going to say nobody was acting like nothing, but the way these victim impact statements are reading, I'm telling you, I was in the court every day. I seen me and them testify. I seen all these people testify, bro. Cassie, Jane, everybody. I watched everybody testify. And these words from this victim impact statements are hitting much harder